Hey everybody, it's Cy and welcome to another plan with me. Today's going to be a bit weird because my sound went completely bad. There's my hand. My voiceover went bad, so I've got to do it over again. So this is me looking at my new favorite thing, which is old time radio. And I've decided to make a tracker for it. So what's going on here is I've found out how many episodes there are in some of my favorite MP3 shows that are coming up on my Alexa old time radio app, and I am tracking how many of them I have watched. Now, I did have a tracker before this, but I haven't had a chance to sort of talk about it because it looked terrible and it wasn't quite finished. So earlier on, I had the free version of Old Time Radio, which just gave you a random episode, and I was ticking off on the chart the random episodes that I was listening to. But now I've paid the whopping 80p a month, and I've actually got premium, which means I can say which episodes I want to hear. And I love listening to things in order. Don't know about you. So, this is really weird because this video, as in all of my videos, are not scripted. So I don't know when I'm going to come back in with my hands here, but what I've done is I've basically made numbers 1 through 20 across the top, and then I'm going to add as many lines as I need to in order to mark off what episodes I've listened to. And I'll just take some time now while nothing's going on to just sort of tell you about it. So, Dragnet is an old police show, and it was a radio show before it was a television show, and I kind of knew that, but I'd never have the opportunity to sort of listen to it, and now I have. So, Dragnet, there's my hand again. Hello, hand. This is just all me talking about old-time radio, and The Adventures of Sam Spade is the other show, which is just underneath. Can you see it? And that is a detective show as well, but it's not police. It's like private detective instead. So that's pretty cool. It's based on the writings of Dashiell Hammett, whose books I've been reading. So it all kind of ties in quite nicely. And on the other side of this page, which I hope I am flipping at some point, I'm explaining to you here how I've got the little rows and columns, which I explained to you earlier on before my hands started moving. So, what's up with you? Yeah, Dragnet, we can see that very clearly now. Thank you very much. Yesterday, Cy. That's great. Cheers. Um, but yeah, that's where I highlighted what I watched. It's green because that's the color of the highlighter I had when I was listening to the show. Now, you can obviously use this tracker for a different thing. You could use it for podcasts. You could use it for television. You could use it for books in a series. Anything really. And all I did was just make a little sketchy thing of an old-fashioned radio at the top. Now we flipped it over. Right, so I've got two trackers on the go on the other side of this page. These are the shows that I want to listen to, eventually. So that's kind of great. It's my wanna listen list. And once I've got trackers for them, I can tick them off. Oh, look, I lost control of it already, and I have started listening to a third show, Amos and Andy. The quality is terrible at the moment. They're very early episodes. They haven't been restored properly, but I'm still enjoying them very much. And I think I haven't marked that off yet. I think I'm on 13 or 14. Not really sure, but they're not full-length episodes. They've been divided down, sort of. But I don't know how many episodes of Amos and Andy there are. So I'm assuming there's about 60 or 80 or 100 or something. So that's what I've got there. It just goes to 80, 61 to 80. And today, because obviously I've already made this part, this was the boring part. I didn't want you to sit around and watch me write numbers down on dot grid paper. That's just horrible. But as you can see from the materials behind me, today I am going to distress these pages and make them look more old-timey than they are, because it's old-time radio, so I'm going to do old-time distressing. Here comes the glass. This is just glass from a clip frame that I had, and I lost the clip frame, but I kept the glass because I need a non-porous surface. Say hello to my camera and my ring light, because you can just about see them in the reflection. Yep. So I've put the unused white paper underneath the glass so that I can see the colors that I'm laying down on top of the glass. I'm going for the antique linen. Antique linen is like a beige, but it's got a bit of a greenish tinge to it. Not as much as old paper, but yeah, it's sort of not as orangey browny beige. And it looks almost unnoticeable here, but it is effective. I use it a lot. Even if I use the other colors, I tend to layer it with the vintage, the linen one. Now I'm gonna go in with a sponge here, and I'm gonna just kind of soften it up. We'll see how this gets, how this goes, but I really don't this is not my preferred way of doing it. If I had been properly prepared for this video, I would have brought a spray bottle, and that would have softened it all up, and it would have made it easier to transfer onto the paper. So let's see what happens. Yes, all right. Yeah, looks like it's water damaged, which is basically what distressing paper does. You're mimicking the effects of what can happen to paper as it gets old. One of the things that happens to paper when it gets old is that the lignin inside the paper makes the paper turn sort of yellowish and brittle. So that is the look that you kind of tend to go for when you are distressing paper to look like old paper. I'm going in with a sponge again, and what I think is happening here is that it's kind of just absorbing most of the ink into the sponge. It's probably not the best way to go about this. Again, if I had my little spray bottle, then that would be great, because this particular ink actually activates with water. So it becomes stronger, and it kind of spreads out more, and it's really interesting when you add water to it. And not only that, but if you let it dry and then spray it again, some of that ink can lift from the paper if you want it to. So it's a very, very interesting formulation, this distress ink. And here I'm going in with some water-based pens, because the distress ink itself is water-based, and so are the pens. So it's, they will work together quite nicely. And yeah, doing the same thing again, hoping against hope that something will actually come up. And it did. Can you see the scribbles around the outside? It's interesting. Not exactly what I had in my head when I started this thing, but I actually think it's pretty cool. So that's something you can do. And your non-porous surface does not have to be glass. It can be plastic or anything really. Perspex, whatever you have lying around. Acrylic stamping blocks are good for this. I'm trying to kind of mop it up at an angle or something, and it's not working the way I want it to, again. But in nature, paper does not distress the way you want it to. I can see my own fingers in it. But I think, on balance, it looks pretty old. We're gonna go in straight in with the sponge. And yes, my camera is shaking because it's on a stand that is on the table that I'm using. So if the table shakes, so does the camera. Sorry about that, guys. As I was doing this ink, I was sort of ruminating about how I might try and mount the camera on the wall instead. But that hasn't happened much, and you're still going to get some shake because the table's still going to shake. It might be about half of what you're seeing here. I don't know if it's worth the drilling, honestly. But there you go. So I am inking, and what I'm doing here, and you can just about see what the technique is, I'm starting off of the page, and I'm blending the ink over the edge of the page and inward. And what that does is it makes the ink catch the edge of the paper, so it's quite dark, and also paper is more absorbent where it's been cut, so it really just accentuates that cut edge. Shaky, shaky camera. It's really hard to know what to say. You know, I did all this off the cuff earlier today, and I'm just thinking, well, not today, yesterday, and I'm standing here in the voiceover booth going, what do I say? More ink, more sponge. It's fun. I'm also getting very, very dirty because there are other colors on this glass. And the sad thing is, I remember yesterday when I picked the glass up that there's some blue there and it's on the back of the glass. It's not on the side I'm working on, it's on the other side. And so when I pick the glass up later on, I get totally blue hands. Which is okay because actually after I did this video, I went and I played with my Noodler's Ahab fountain pen, and that always gets messy. I haven't quite worked out exactly what I'm doing with it yet. Oh, going in with some more ink. It kind of clashes with my highlighter, but you know, it's all right. I believe they call it an anachronism. Because it's like old-timey paper, but then I'm using modern highlighters. It's just my crazy style. What can I say? Oh, I think that's deepening it quite nicely, actually. Hmm. Now, if I had some more time on my hands, I probably would have done a little bit of stamping in similar colors with some kind of random images, like old-timey random images. Maybe for next time. Ah, here I am, distressing the back of the paper that I haven't used yet as well, because I'm going to use it eventually. So yeah, here we go. Going around with more of this brown stuff. That is Vintage Photo. It's a really nice color. It is quite vibrant, reddish brown, looks like a sepia. And I like how the pen is sort of diffusing it just a little bit. But yeah, if everything had been to hand, I really would have gone in there with a spray bottle and just activated that ink just a little bit more. But I love working on the glass because you can kind of see what's about to happen rather than it being a bit of a surprise. Previously, I've worked on what they call a nonstick craft sheet, which looks a bit like an oven liner. And depending on what color that craft sheet is, you just really can't see what you're doing. And mine happened to be that kind of color, that brown sort of craft color. So I would have had a very hard time seeing where I'd been and what I was doing. But now that I'm inking this plain page that I haven't yet used, it'll make more room for yet more trackers as I start listening to more programs. And I think, note to self, I think I might put the tracker one to a page to start with until I find out how many episodes there are in a series, because that way I could start all of the shows really if I wanted to. Not that I really want to. Um, yeah, there's some great shows, and because mostly I crochet, it's nice to have something to listen to that there is no visual element, so I know for sure I'm not missing anything. So that is probably just about it. Oh, I'm punching holes. Yes, and here's where I say one of my weaknesses with working with these to be punched pieces of paper is that I always get it wrong where the holes are gonna be. Do you see that? I just assumed that it was on the left-hand side, and it's of course, it's not gonna be because that was the back of another page. Duh. So, yeah, I've just given it a little bit more ink, and I'll make it more pretty later, probably. But there we go. That is today's project. I'm gonna let it dry before I put it permanently into my diary. But, if you have a go at making one of these yourself, let us know how it comes out. I'm gonna do that whole outro thing now. I've been Cy. This has been Plan With Me for Unravel and Unwind, and I'm probably gonna faff around for a bit and talk, but I will see you in the next one, which hopefully will be in about a week's time. Thank you, patrons, for your support as always. And when it goes out to the general public eventually, thank you for watching. And if you want to see it right when it comes out, you know what to do. Follow the Patreon link in the description box. And I will see you all again soon. Bye-bye.